Alrighty, so when you think of iconic father-son driver combinations in Formula 1, you might think of the Schumachers, the 91 race-winning 7-time world champion Michael, along with his son, the rising superstar Mick, who's currently driving a Russian flag-shod motorboat. Or you might think of the Hill family, with Graham, who was the 1962 and 68 world champions, along with his son Damon, who won the world championship in 1996. Or you could even think of the Rosberg family, Keke and Nico, the other father-son combo to both win world championships in 1982 and 2016 respectively. I'm pretty sure the one combination that doesn't immediately flash into your head is that of John and Jolyon Palmer. The most memorable thing from Jolyon's career was an infamous radio exchange with Fernando Alonso before he was unceremoniously dumped from Renault mid-2017, and also his quote of "You have to be alert on a street circuit in Singapore" will live long in many of our memories. So, I want to discover why it all went wrong for Jolyon in his career. So, Jolyon Palmer, what became of Mr. "You have to be alert on a street circuit"? So as is the way with this series, we'll start at the very beginning. Jolyon was born on the 20th of January 1991 and his first record of racing was in 2004. However, because he was the son of former F1 driver John Palmer, we can make a good guess and say he began in karts before the age of 13. After a successful 2004 campaign in Minimax karts, Jolyon got into an actual racing car in the T-Cars Autumn Series. This championship is quite interesting because it's for 14 to 17 year olds, there are very few photos of it online, and it's a bit like Ginetta Juniors but from Wish.com. Not a lot is documented from his T-Cars adventure of 2005 except the fact he ended up 5th in the championship and competed in 6 rounds. Let's move on to 2006. In 2006, he raced in the T-Cars Series full-time, racing in all 20 rounds and picked up 4 podiums. He dominated the Autumn Trophy of that season, with 4 wins from the 6 rounds and a podium in the other one. I mean, you can only win what's in front of you, and so he was doing well. 2007 meant a move into an actual single-seater in his father's series, and this was called the Formula Palmer Audi. Jolyon ended up 10th in the standings in his first season in single-seaters with 2 wins and a pole position. I mean, he wasn't driving a Hot Wheels car for the first time, so we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He also won the T-Cars Autumn Championship again, well, because he'd raced in them for 2 seasons before and had lots of experience of the lawn mowers with roofs, so good on him. 2008 brought another season in the Audi Championship and he won just 1 race, ending up 3rd in the standings with 11 podiums. However, one driver who finished ahead of him was Tom Bradshaw, who doesn't actually have a Wikipedia page at the moment. And the other driver in that field that I recognise is Alex Brundle, who's currently Alex Jakes' co-commentator. I mean, you can only race what's in front of you and end up 3rd in the standings, which is not too bad, so we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. 2009 meant a move to Formula 2. And no, before you think of the amazing series commentated on by Alex Jakes with beautiful looking cars, I'm going to disappoint you somewhat. It was basically a rip-off GP2 series with drivers who weren't at the very top of their game. His season in the F2 Championship paid homage to Mahavir Raghunathan's driving in the actual Formula 2 in 2019, where he scored just 3 points in the 16 rounds. His only win that year was in his dad's championship. Wait, his dad was involved in his career? That rings a bell. Somewhere. Mysteriously. Anyway, for 2010, Jolyon was still driving for the Motorsport Vision team in the F2 Championship and was engaged in a season-long battle with the winner of the Formula Renault UK Series, Dean Stoneman. It was all going so well for Jolyon until the penultimate round, where he instead drove a Vauxhall Corsa to McDonald's rather than driving an F2 car around the Oschersleben track. He ended the season 2nd in the championship, which was an improvement from 21st from the previous year, so we'll give him that. 2011 took him to GP2, and really the less said about 2011 the better. Before we delve into the GP2 disaster class, if you are enjoying this video, please make sure to subscribe, as I'd love to do this full time one day. Right, now to the mess of 2011. He scored a grand total of, wait for it, 0 points. I won't even run through the field, even though it was quite competitive because there's literally no point. He scored no points. He scored 2 9th place finishes, scoring only went down to 8th in those days at Istanbul and Valencia, but those were highlights of a miserable, miserable campaign. Let's go to 2012, shall we? 2012 meant he moved to the iSport team for the GP2 campaign, and this season was not only bring his first points in GP2 at Bahrain, but also his first win in Monaco, and 2 more podiums at both Silverstone and Monza. He ended the championship in 11th place, and this was just the 17 places higher than at his last outing in GP2. For 2013, he'd have another go in GP2, and here's where I pass over to a bloke who's already been on the channel twice before, as John Kravitz. I think we'll call him John Palmer for this video, I reckon, to paint his son's 2 more years in GP2 in the best light possible. Or we could just call him his name. It's John Warren.
Thanks for that slightly interesting introduction, James. Anyway, for 2013, Jolyon would be looking to build on his success of the previous GP2 campaign. This season was quite good, with 2 feature race wins in Hungary and Singapore, as well as a podium in the penultimate round at Yas Marina. He upped his game and ended up 7th in the standings behind future F1 drivers Marcus Ericsson and Felipe Nasr, among others. This was a better season, but can you really earn an F1 seat with a 7th place GP2 finish? No. 2014 would surely be his last shot in GP2, so it really was all or nothing for Jolyon. In 2014, he would actually go on to win the title, thanks to his consistency of scoring points on every occasion except in sprint races at Sochi and Abu Dhabi, the 2 worst tracks on the calendar. He took 4 wins in Bahrain, at Monaco, in Monza, and in the feature race in Sochi, and won the title from Stoffel Van Dorn, Felipe Nasr, and Mitch Evans. He finished 47 points ahead of Van Dorn, and in 2014 he was also a test driver for Force India. After winning GP2, it was time to move towards the ultimate prize, and this is where I hand it back to James. Thank you for having me on.
Cheers for that, John. Now for 2015, you'd think he'd get an F1 seat, right? He was the reigning GP2 champion? Well, not quite. He was signed up to be Lotus's test and reserve driver, so he had to watch Lord Pastor Maldonado and the King Romain Grosjean driving every single week. When people say the meme kings, Daniel Ricciardo and Lando Norris are the perfect teammates, myself, as an intellectual, remember that these two were the best ever. Renault bought out Lotus in 2015 after they were struggling financially, and when Grosjean left for Haas and Maldonado went to terrorise other championships, Jolyon got his shot in F1, lining up with Kevin Magnussen. This would be his chance in F1 to show everyone just what he could do. That Renault car looked a bit like a banana in 2016, and it wasn't too quick either. Jolyon started well with an 11th place finish in Australia before a DNS in Bahrain foreshadowed what would be a tough season to come. Whilst Magnussen scored an impressive 7th place in Russia, Jolyon wouldn't score points until Malaysia, and he crashed out of the rain in Monaco. He finished 10th in Malaysia, but he would be outscored by 7-1 by Magnussen in 2016. However, he would keep his drive for 2017, where Renault would look to up their game and they signed Nico Hülkenberg as a replacement for the Haas-bound Kevin Magnussen. 2017 meant a big regulation change, bringing wider cars with far more downforce, and Renault seemed to be more competitive. After not scoring for the first 2 rounds, Nico Hülkenberg found some form and scored points in 4 of the next 5 rounds. Jolyon scored 3 11th place finishes in Monaco, Canada and Austria, but never got any points on the scoreboard. His lowest point of the season was being unable to start his home event following a problem on the formation lap at Silverstone. Renault became increasingly frustrated with Jolyon, and at the Italian Grand Prix, so did Fernando Alonso. Palmer was given a 5-second penalty for overtaking Fernando off the track, which Fernando was livid about because it meant virtually nothing. When Jolyon had to retire with a mechanical problem and Fernando asked on his radio where Jolyon was,
where's Palmer? And Fernando Palmer has retired. Palmer.
The next round in Singapore, Jolyon said, "You have to be alert on a street circuit," and he was right. Whilst the 2 Ferraris were busy making a Red Bull sandwich at turn 1, Jolyon drove to an impressive 6th place. However, this would still not be enough to convince Renault to keep him for the remainder of the 2017 season, and he stood down after the Japanese Grand Prix, making way for Carlos Sainz. This was obviously a huge blow for Jolyon, who then turned in to become a pundit. He was signed by BBC Radio 5 Live and Formula 1 TV for his analysis, and he is excellent, providing both great insights and solid analysis. I think personally this is a great move for him, and he seems to do his job extremely well. Overall, we'll ask, was Jolyon Palmer worthy of a Formula 1 seat? Yes, he was the GP2 champion after all, even if it was on the 4th attempt. Was he worthy of an F1 championship? No. I think that's quite self-explanatory. Was he worthy of better treatment from Renault? Perhaps. I think he deserved until the end of the season in 2017, but he really wasn't performing, so you can see their logic in dropping him. Do I like him as a pundit? Yeah, I think he's great. He's definitely a better career path for him, and I hope it is fulfilling for him. Now, if you did enjoy this episode, make sure to give the video a like and let me know what you think of Jolyon Palmer in the comments section below. Subscribe if you are new around here and you want to see Formula 1 content 3 times a week, and I will catch you in the next one. Later, guys.